So just a little bit of background about this. Back in 2020, which feels like it was a very long time ago, but it still is right in the recent past, the city approved an energy action plan that approved having several different educational events on sustainability topics at local events here in the city. However, COVID-19 has had other plans. So originally those were planned to be in person. We're not having as many things in person right now. So instead we've sort of pivoted and we created a virtual webinar series. And that's what this is going to be. So again, this is the second one. We had one in January that was recorded, and you can actually find that on our sustainability page. I'll show you that in a little bit. But just sort of the general things, it's going to be on the first Tuesday of every month. We're going to have future topics like understanding your utility bill, reducing waste, renewable energy, and we're going to have a bunch of other ones too. With that, though, we also want to get your feedback. We want to know what you want to learn about. So we also have a survey that we put out. We're going to put this out after this meeting to have everyone so you have it there, but also you can find it on our sustainability page where you can fill that out and tell us what you'd like to learn about, what topics, what if the webinar time works well for you, if there's another time you'd like that maybe works better, all those different things you can sort of figure out there. If you don't want to do the survey, you can also send me an email or give me a call. My phone number and email are on the bottom of this page here after questions. So again, Drew Ingvelson Planner, feel free to call or email. Next slide, please. So here's that sustainable Minnetonka page. So it's good for a couple different things. So first off, if you go under the monthly webinar series, you'll have all the info about these webinars. Again, you'll have previous recordings. We're recording them and saving them so people can watch them later if you'd like, or if you missed something. Also, you can find future webinars on there. The next topic is already in there, I believe, for March. So that's already ready to go. Also, if you don't want to have to go on here to click on that every time, you can just subscribe. That way you will get an email or a text message just notifying you when new events are coming up. So this is sort of the page for everything. Also, we have our new Sustainability Commission Energy Action Plan is on here. City initiatives, anything sustainability is going to be on this page. So, and you can find it on our web page, or you can also just type in, it's pretty easy, minnetonkamn.gov/green. Next slide, please. So the city of Minnetonka, another thing we've been working on is we wanted to help people and make it easier for them to make their homes more energy efficient. So with that, in 2021, the city has decided to pay for half of the cost for home energy squad visits for up to 280 homes, reducing the price on this visit, which is usually $100, down to $50. There's also free visits available for income qualified homes, but if you're not, still it's only $50. And then also after this meeting, everyone will receive an email with a link on how to sign up for these home energy squad visits. And then also you'll be able to, just as long as you note that you're from Minnetonka, or you have a Minnetonka address, you'll also get that discounted price. Tonight, we also have sort of a special going on. I feel like I'm on an infomercial. I assure you that I'm not. I work at the city. But there is a special that's happening. The Home Energy Squad team is going to give away one free Home Energy Squad visit for someone who's on this call. So all you had to do was sign up. So if you look down at our requirements, you're attending tonight's webinar. So you've already checked that first box. You have to be a Minnetonka resident. So if you're a Minnetonka resident, check the second box. Next thing you have to do though is sign up for a Home Energy Squad visit within 24 hours after this webinar. So tonight or tomorrow, sometime before 6 o'clock, hopefully, if you sign up for it, you'll be entered in for having a free visit. So it won't even be $50, which is a pretty low price, but then also it will be completely free. And things that you get with that, if people don't know about the Home Energy Squad, you can email me and I can tell you more about it and I can get you some info. But you're going to get things like an expert who's going to give you some information on how your house is working efficiently. You'll get free LED light bulbs, weather stripping. They'll perform a blower door test to see where you might have leaks and a whole bunch of other items. So even if it's $50, That's way less than what the market cost would be for these type of things. And if you sign up before tomorrow at 6 o'clock, you'll be in the drawing for having it for free. So with that, now we have sort of the housekeeping stuff done. Tonight we have two experts that are going to help demystify what to do after you complete that home energy squad visit. And maybe after that, you want to make some additional changes to your home, and that can help you reduce your energy costs. So first, we have Danielle Huck from the Home Energy Squad. She is here to explain what happens to you after you have an energy audit at your home. And then she'll also talk about some typical recommendations that homeowners receive and explain how the Home Energy Squad advisors can help navigate all those different decisions that you might have to make about how to improve your efficiency of your home. Second, we have a coworker of mine here, Rob Hansen, who's also from the city of Minnetonka. He'll be sharing some of the programs that Minnetonka offers to residents to help make energy improvements affordable. So with that, I'm going to turn the virtual mic over to Danielle to kick us off.
I even unmuted myself before I started talking, so we're off to a great start. Thanks, Drew. Again, my name is Danielle Hauk, and I work at the Center for Energy and Environment. And tonight we're talking about what happens after your audit. So we're calling this presentation After the Audit, Now What? I'm going to answer that question for you. Go ahead and with the next slide, please. All right, so before we dive in, I just have to say that if you're like me, you spend a lot of time these days virtually on video calls with folks. And I know it takes a special kind of energy. So thanks for spending a little bit of that energy here with me tonight. And as a reciprocation of that, I want to just take a second to talk about what we're going to talk about. So we're going to spend a little bit talking about how you can learn about your home's energy efficiency needs. We'll talk about how the CEE Energy Advisor Service is here to help with that process. And we'll be doing that through the lens of looking at Minnetonka's most common home energy squad recommendations after the visit. So we'll be taking a look at those projects, kind of the basics of completing those projects, the resources and the benefits of completing those projects. Next slide. All right, so here's the plug. If you haven't heard of the Center for Energy and Environment, it's a mouthful, so I'll probably call it CEE from here on out. But we're a nonprofit based here in Minnesota. Our mission is to promote energy efficiency to strengthen the economy while improving the environment. So that boils down to us conducting research and implementing programs that help businesses, government agencies, other nonprofits, utilities, and applicably to tonight's webinar, we work a lot with homes and households on improving their comfort and saving them energy. Next slide. So with that far-reaching mission, CE's got people who are expert researchers. We've got consultants. We work in policy. We offer lending services both to residents as well as businesses. And we offer a lot of programs. I work within the residential energy program along with Stacy Boots Camp, who was last month's presenter. If you attended that, she and I are coworkers. Next slide. All right, so Stacy in her presentation last month spent a lot of time talking about what we like to call the Energy Smart Homes recipe. And simply put, that means that in order to live in an energy efficient home, you need to have all three of these things. You need to have good habits, good energy efficiency products, and good investments. You can't have two, you can't have one. You have to have all three in order to live in an energy efficient home. Stacy spent a lot of time kind of in each of those buckets. Tonight, we're going to dive pretty deeply into that investments piece. And that's often what the bulk of your after audit experience is made up of. So next slide. All right, so Drew talked about this as well, but the Home Energy Squad is a great place to start. If you are contemplating some energy investments, or maybe you're just vaguely aware that something's amiss in your home and it might be related to energy, but you're not quite sure where to start with a Home Energy Squad visit. You can see the breakdown of the two visit options. The Energy Planner visit results in receiving a a report that is pretty extensive and kind of lays the groundwork for life after your audit. So next slide. And so there's a couple things that are going to pop up in this slide. I just want to show you what this report looks like. It's almost always a minimum of 17 pages, and it's pretty thorough. So we worked really hard to make this digestible and accessible to folks. So this is the first page in the report. If you don't feel like reading 17 pages of text or working through a 17-page report, that's totally okay. Your top recommendations, your most impactful things you can do are listed right on the first page. Go ahead and keep clicking. All right, so each section in your home gets a page, well, I should say at least a page talking about what the auditor found in your report or in your home and recommendations for improving that area, along with pictures kind of explaining the recommendation. Go ahead. All right, and infrared photos are a customer favorite. So we like to take infrared photos because it gives us insight into what's happening in spaces we can't necessarily see. So when we take infrared photos, we include those in the report and explain what we're seeing and what we're recommending for a solution. Keep going. I think there's one more. All right, and then towards the end of that report, we provide you a list of rebate information for those projects that we're recommending. So you can see kind of the dollar benefit back from the utility. Next slide. All right, so I've talked about what an energy I haven't talked about what an energy investment is yet, but we're about to do that here. Energy investment, energy project, energy upgrade, they're all sort of one and the same for tonight's conversation. So go ahead and click. We're talking about attic insulation and air sealing. You can keep clicking. Sorry, I like the animations apparently, but energy efficient heating and cooling systems. We're talking about having a safe and efficient water heater. We're talking about having storm windows on all single pane windows. So those are the kind of the core recommendations that come out of our audit program and kind of the foundation of what smart energy investments look like in your home. Next. This is something that will also appear in your report. It's on the second page. I love this bar graph and I want to explain it. This is your Energy Fit Homes score. And in this particular example, the home scored 73 points out of a possible 100 points. The higher the score, the more efficient the home. So what this bar graph is telling us is that there are 3 ways the homeowner can improve the way their house uses energy. And you see that in the orange, blue, and yellow portions of the bar graph. But with the 13 remaining points in that orange category, we can tell just from this one part of this big, awesome, comprehensive audit report that the most impactful thing we can do in this home is to replace that boiler with a more efficient model. This bar graph and this image really does create a pathway to a more energy efficient home, and it's front and center in your audit report. Go ahead, next slide, please. Go ahead, yeah, next slide. Sorry, I think the animations are done. So, all right, so before we dive in, if we were in person, I'm always a fan of kind of discussion-based presentations. I probably have thrown out a question or two to the audience. So we're gonna substitute with these polls, I think. The first question is, would your home benefit from one of the energy projects we're talking about? So that's attic insulation, wall insulation, heating system upgrades, water heater upgrades, cooling system upgrades. And you should be seeing a little pop up and you can go ahead and select whichever answer is most appropriate for you.
We've had about half of the attendees respond. We've got, let's see, just about 10 or 15 seconds left. And looks like we can call it right there.
Ah, lovely. Okay, I was hoping the answers would be scattered across the four options. And yes, you're interested in one of these projects, but not sure where to start. That is very relatable. And we help a lot of people figure out what their first step is. And so let's go on to the next slide. All right. So for that group, that main group with the most responses of yes, but not sure where to start, the Energy Advisor Service, the Energy Advisors, they're gonna be your friends. The 3 people there are the Energy Advisors, they're my staff, and they are energy experts whose basically sole mission in their job is to make it easier for you to complete the energy recommendations given to you at the Home Energy Squad visit. So this is a service that is completely free. It's super accessible. You can email, you can call. There's no complicated phone bank or weird interfaces to navigate. If you reach out to them, they get back to you quite quickly if they don't answer directly when you call. So like that poll, there's people kind of across the spectrum after their audit. They know exactly what they want to do. They want to do something, they're not quite sure. They don't think they're ready for a project, but maybe down the road. And sometimes people just need a copy of their audit report again. All of those are acceptable things, and the energy advisors help with all of those. So when you are ready to start thinking about an energy investment, we want to make sure that we're listening to your goals for what you want out of your home. We're going to help you identify the highest impact plan for your house. We will connect you to contractors. We will ensure that you're earning the best rebate possible. And if it's helpful, we can also connect you to low interest financing options. Next slide. All right, so we are going to proceed with talking about kind of those top recommendations or the most common recommendations that come out of our Home Energy Squad program. So let me break this donut down for you a little bit. So in the last 13 months, so January plus the entire month or entire year of 2020, we completed several audits within the city of Minnetonka. 194 of them resulted in recommendations that fall into this, like into the energy investment bucket, if you will. And so in those 194 homes with recommendations, these are the types of recommendations we had. We gave 133 recommendations for home envelope measures, and we'll talk about what that means in a minute. Our second most common recommendation was ventilation. Our third was replacing the water heater, followed by heating system upgrades and cooling system upgrades. So our system calls this image a donut. So we are just gonna eat our way through this donut and talk about each of these upgrades. Go ahead with the next slide. All right, so the home envelope, what we're talking about there are the cavities that make up your attic and wall spaces. Having a home envelope means those spaces are fully insulated and fully air sealed, and a functional home envelope works for you all year round. It is the thing that separates you from our extreme climate, and that is true whether or not it is the summer or the winter. So a home envelope keeps you cooler in the summer and it keeps you warmer in the winter, which means that, again, you can be more comfortable all year round once your home envelope is fully established. Next slide. All right, so remember those top 2 recommendations were home envelope and ventilation, and we're going to talk about them both here. So if you take a look at that home envelope recommendation, of the 133 people who received that recommendation, 107 specifically had recommendations for insulating and air sealing the wall spaces. 43 households received recommendations for insulating their exterior walls, and 22 people had recommendations specifically for air sealing. And what that commonly means is that their home was previously insulated, so there's not additional insulation work that's needed, but air sealing work is needed in the attic. All right, so if you tackle these projects, you're gonna receive some immediate benefits. And a lot of people report that once their home is insulated, it's significantly more comfortable. Attic insulation specifically often results in fewer ice dams or less severe ice dams. And of course, your energy bills can be lowered when you insulate and air seal your attic. If you receive a quote or an estimate from a contractor and it simply states insulate attic to R50, I would be skeptical of that contractor's mindfulness around the importance of air sealing. And to explain this quickly, I have an analogy. Attic insulation is like going outside in the winter with a coat on. It does a lot to make being outside more pleasant, but air sealing is like the zipper of that coat. It's what actually makes that coat work for you and be able to be outside long term. So don't go outside without zippering your coat, and don't insulate your attic without air sealing it. Ventilation is a common recommendation, and it is commonly paired, like we saw in that previous slide, with attic insulation. And that's because as you make your home tighter through insulation and air sealing, it is important to ventilate it properly. And that means controlling for having the right amount of fresh air and moisture in your home. So if you do these projects, you can expect that to cost about between $2,000 and $3,500, and that's an estimated project. And if you are also doing ventilation, you can anticipate that being an additional $1,000 roughly. All right, go ahead with the next slide. The benefits to wall insulation are really similar. People report that once they insulate their walls, there are fewer drafts and fewer cold spots. People also report that their home just seems more quiet, especially dampened or softer noises from the outside, which is an exciting benefit of wall insulation. And of course, your bills decrease once you insulate your walls. When you are working with a contractor on this project, you want to make sure that they are insulating the wall space to its capacity. So generally that means R11. That's the amount of insulation you want to see on a quote. And this is a great time to also think about kind of odd spaces that might exist in your home envelope. Spaces like the crawl space, the tuck under garage, or the cantilever. Once those are properly insulated and air sealed, they can go a long way to making your home more comfortable. Generally speaking, wall insulation is more expensive than attic insulation. And we generally, again, these are all estimated ranges, but generally speaking, you can expect to spend between $3,000 and $4,000 on this project. Next slide. All right. So when you tackle this project, what can you expect from the people who are helping you? The energy advisors can connect you to contractors. They can help you compare estimates, but we also offer a unique service when it comes to the home envelope project. So again, attic insulation, wall insulation, and ventilation. During your home energy squad visit, if we are recommending one of those things for you, we try and build a quote for that work. We work with partnering contractors, and we can actually schedule that quote, that work for you on your behalf with one of those contractors. It's a tool there that's there for you if you want it. And if you decide to go out and collect your own bids, that's totally valid. Just make sure that your contractors are listening to your concerns, that they're running that blower door test to measure the effectiveness of the work they're doing. And they should also be filling out their rebate paperwork for you. Next slide, please. All right, so our third most common recommendation in Minnetonka, based on a year's worth of audit visits, is the water heater project. So the major benefits of upgrading to a new water heater are increased combustion safety and lower energy bills. Producing hot water generally accounts for roughly 15% of your annual utility bill. So you can expect to see that level of savings on your bill over the course of a year. The major reason we recommend replacement for water heaters is because of their venting design or their drafting design. Older water heaters tend to rely on gravity to remove combusted gases out of your home, so the gas that is spent heating water. And sometimes, especially as you insulate and tighten your home, that venting doesn't work the way it was designed to, and those gases spill back into your home, or you could be at risk for having those gases spill back into your home. If that's the case, or if we're observing that situation during our audit, we're going to recommend a high efficiency power vented water heater for you. You want to look for one with an energy factor of 0.68. The estimated cost there would be about $2,500. And not, when I looked back at the audit data from the last year, there weren't too many electric water heaters, but for those of you that may have one, you want to consider replacing an old electric water heater with a heat pump water heater. And that project cost is generally a little bit higher, generally in the $2,500 to $4,500 range. And a picture of the heat pump water heater is what we're seeing on this slide. Next slide. All right, so if you're working on this project, the advisors, again, can connect you to contractors or make sure that a contractor you're already working with understands how to connect you to the rebate program. We can compare estimates, which I think is particularly valuable if you are thinking about that heat pump water heater model. And we can make sure that the new water heater that you're getting installed addresses those combustion safety needs we were talking about on the previous slide. Your contractor should, again, continue to listen to your concerns. It breaks an advisor's heart when people call and say that, you know, they've had this work done, but they had a bad experience and now they have all these questions. Go ahead and tell a contractor no if you're not getting a good vibe from them during your estimate process. And the contractor should also fill out the rebate paperwork for you, so that should be all set up by the time they're wrapping up the work. And depending on whether or not your water heater is gas or electric, there are utility rebates available, the electric from CenterPoint and the gas water heater rebate from Excel. Next slide. All right, heating system. So this is recommendation 4 out of 5. Excuse me. Replacing your heating system can make your home much more comfortable, provides a lot more even heat. High efficiency furnaces are just more responsive. They're able to notice the nuances between making your house a lot warmer or just a little bit warmer. And that's where their efficiency part of where their efficiency comes from. So the vast majority of audits in the last year had natural gas furnaces. That's what you see in these pictures. For tonight, if you go, for fun, if you go in your basement, check to see if your furnace, which is that rectangle in all 4 of these photos, that metal box, if they have the white PVC pipes coming off of them or those metal pipes. If it's white PVC, it's a good indication it's efficient and new. And if it's got those metal pipes coming out the top of the rectangular box, it's probably time to start thinking about a replacement. If you are going to replace your furnace, you want to replace it with a 96% efficient furnace. You can anticipate the project running roughly $4,500. And again, 96% efficient furnace. All right, next slide. All right, so if you're tackling this project, the advisors really would love to help you compare estimates. We do see a range of costs for similar products. So it is definitely worth getting at least at least 3 bids for these projects. We can help you compare them and we can make sure that the work that they're proposing is rebate eligible. And as you're working with contractors, go ahead and ask them how they're sizing your furnace. And I don't mean the physical size of the furnace, I mean the furnace's capacity to properly heat your home. Just like clothing, furnaces kind of come in a small, medium, and large option. You want to make sure you're getting the right size for your home. Like the other things we've been talking about, there are rebates available for this. You can anticipate a $400 rebate from CenterPoint for a 96% efficient furnace. Next slide. All right, so again, looking back at rebate data, the vast majority of people have natural gas heating systems. But if you have electric baseboard in your home, this opportunity is too big to not mention. Electric resistance heat is extremely expensive. It costs you a lot every month when you run it. So go ahead and consider replacing that system with a mini split. A mini split is cutting edge technology. It can heat and cool your home using electricity, and a mini split looks like the photo you see here. So the lower portion of that photo is what would be on the outside of your home, and the top part of that photo is what would be inside your home, replacing that baseboard. There are rebates available if you have this in your house. Next slide. All right, recommendation 5, the last of our 5 most common recommendations in Minnetonka, and it's about your cooling system, which is not surprising because given the number of people who have furnaces, a lot of furnaces get paired with central air conditioners. If your air conditioner is 20 years old or thereabouts, it's probably time to think about getting that replaced with a more efficient model. And you want to look for a 16-SEER air conditioner. That's the standard upgrade to a more efficient air conditioner. But only in the last year or so are we starting to see recommendations and quotes for getting a 16-SEER air source heat pump installed instead of a new air conditioner. Again, this is new technology that's extremely efficient and can heat your home, or I'm sorry, can cool your home in a way that costs less money each month to operate. And you can see those project costs there. All right, I flew through those, but I hope that that gave you kind of an insight into what those projects might look like and how the energy advisors can help. Here we go. I forgot about this slide. Thank you. We can, like the other mechanical recommendations, the advisors can help you compare the estimates. They can help you connect with contractors. We'll make sure that equipment is rebate eligible, and the rebate for the air conditioner or air source heat pump is $450. Next slide. All right, so now that we have run through some of those project details and kind of what those energy investments might look like, my question to you is, do you want to know more about your Energy Fit Home score? And that was what that graph was, or that bar graph was at the beginning of the slide deck. We'll give everyone a minute to answer, a little bit to answer.
We have just about everybody having responded. We'll just go another 5 or 10 seconds and I'll close the survey. Okay, and here we go.
Yes, I would like to know my home energy score. I'm so glad that you are curious about your home energy score. And I know that a lot of folks attended this webinar as well as last month, so you may have your home energy score and might want to revisit it. So let me know if we can help with that. And for those who know what their home needs, that's excellent. And if anything comes up, feel free to reach out to the energy advisors. Next slide. Okay, this is my last plug. As an energy advisor, I love giving people resources. The Home Energy Hub is a great online resource. If you're interested in learning more about the investments we've talked about, those energy projects, or the good habits or the good products we mentioned, the Home Energy Hub is a great online resource. You can go ahead and learn more about each of those topics. So feel free to check it out. All right, next slide. And I went a few minutes over, so I apologize for that. But if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to me. That is my email address.
Thank you, Danielle. And over to Rob Hansen with the City of Minnetonka.
Thanks, Danielle. Thanks, Mike. Well, we had some great information there from Danielle, and you might be asking now, well, that's all great, but where is some money available for all of these improvements? So I will talk about what the City of Minnetonka has to offer, and then I will also mention a few other resources that might be available. Mike, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. So the City of Minnetonka has, for the last probably 10 or so years, taken a proactive approach at providing some financial assistance for residents, primarily at lower income assistance available for residents, but there is some flexibility with the programs. We have two programs specifically that can fund energy efficient improvements in your home. The first one I'll talk about is the Minnetonka Home Enhancement Loan Program, followed by the Housing Rehabilitation Grant Program, which is funded through Community Development Block Grant funds. And then I will also briefly touch on a new program, well, new in the City of Minnetonka, the Hennepin County Deconstruction grants to go along with, maybe some insulation work or remodel that you may be doing to bring your home into energy efficiency standards. So let's go to the next slide, please. Oh, I guess the program's got a little mixed up, but we can certainly start with the housing rehabilitation program here. This program is a forgivable loan program, the CDBG program here. It's run through Hennepin County. You can borrow up to $15,000 for repairs, and it's really mainly used for or intended for low to moderate income households. You can see on the right side of the slide here, basically what the income limits are. You just go by how many folks are living in the home with you and look at that corresponding number to determine your basic eligibility. There's a few other things in there that would determine some eligibility if you do meet the income requirements, but this is sort of the main one. The best part about this program is that there aren't any actual loan payments made. It's a forgivable grant program. So you take out a $15,000 loan or however much you need, and that just gets applied or secured on the property through a lien, and that actually gets forgiven after 10 years as long as you've stayed in your home and met some of the other requirements. Eligible projects would include window replacement, door replacement, any projects to bring items into code compliance. And then we also would look at HVAC repair or replacement. And then again, income and home valuation limits apply. Next slide, please. So now we have the Hennepin County Deconstruction Grants Program. So this is a program that's also run through Hennepin County. You would apply through them. It's a program that allows you to offset some of the costs of a demolition or deconstruction project in your home, and you can get up to $5,000 in assistance for that. Your home would have to have been built prior to 1970, and there are some size requirements on the type of job that you're doing. And you can see it's a renovation or deconstruction must be of 500 square foot or more space. So basically just a couple of rooms in your home would probably be sufficient. And then you would also have to have a pre-demolition inspection by Hennepin County staff. They would come out and look at your project and then also give you some suggestions and fill you in on the proper channels of deconstructing and getting rid of building materials the proper way. And then this program is nice because it can be used with other programs that I've mentioned in the slides here. And then again, it's done through Hennepin County. You would apply at the website listed below, hennepin.us/deconstruction. And they have staff available to help residents go through that. Next slide, please. And actually, I think maybe we skipped one slide Mike?
Rob, I'm going to go back for you. I may have double clicked once here for you. So hold on 1 second. I'll see if I can find that slide for you.
Yeah, no problem. Oh, yep, there we go.
There you go.
So this is the third program that we have offered through the city, and this is the Minnetonka Home Enhancement Loan Program. So it's another program where you can borrow up to $15,000 for a home energy improvement or efficiency improvement, or really any sort of major repair for your home. This is actually managed for us through CEE, and it's among one of many loan and financing programs that they have. So even if our program that I'm talking about here isn't a great fit for you, they definitely have some alternative financing options that may even have better terms than what our program is. And so we found that a lot of residents kind of figure out about the programs through us, but then end up going through CE for something else and are still able to get some projects done. But for the sake and purpose of this conversation, we'll talk about ours. It's a 10-year term loan at a 3.5% interest rate. The income limits are a little bit more lenient than the CDBG program. So you can take a look at the income limits here and determine if you're eligible for that. And again, eligible projects would include windows, doors, insulation, solar installations, HVAC, and other improvements. And along with the income limits, there's some home valuation limits that would apply. You would just need to reach out to me or check on the city's website to figure that out. All right, Mike, if you want to head back to the slide with my contact information on there. Great, thank you. So we actually don't have residents apply through the city for these programs. As I mentioned, they're actually run through third-party organizations. So the program I just talked about is managed through CEE, and you would apply through CEE. You can find that information on our website at minnetonkamn.gov/home loans and get taken directly to their program pages and get in touch with the folks that are responsible for doing the processing of the applications and working with folks and dispersing the checks and getting those programs up and running. The other program, the CDBG one, is run through Hennepin County. That information can also be found on the minnetonka.gov/home loans page as well. A lot of it's pretty confusing, and usually I just like to send residents an email with links to that. So feel free to email me if you're a little confused or you want to learn more information, and I can get you that information probably easier than just trying to navigate on the website. So my email address is listed here. You can also give me a call, and I'll be able to get back to you pretty quickly, and I'm happy to help.
Rob, thanks very much. We'll hand it over to Drew right now.
Fantastic, thank you. We can go to the next slide. So first off, I wanted to say, give a big thank you out to Rob Hansen, also to Danielle for sharing those expertise and insights. I'm always amazed at how many opportunities there are for people to get information, either assistance for really low cost or even for free. So don't hesitate to use those different resources, both Danielle and Rob. They're there to help and really there to help you navigate all these different avenues for help making your home more energy efficient. So just want to give a quick up next before we move to questions. So our next webinar series item is going to be on how to be a savvy energy consumer, staying sort of on this energy field. So it's going to be a little bit different from the last ones. We're going to pivot away from the home energy squad visits and then start looking a little bit more specifically at your utility bills. So that one, it's going to be at the same time, 6 p.m., same place. We'll be virtually here on Zoom. And then our guest is going to be Carmen Carruthers, who works for the Citizen Utility Board Minnesota, a nonprofit here in Minnesota. So that's going to be a really great one. Hopefully you can sign up. Again, go to Sustainable Minnetonka, our webpage there, and you can sign up either looking there to see when the next one's coming up. and that's what the sign up will be. Or, which is probably a bit easier, is you can just subscribe to that page, and then we will just send you that info when it's ready and when it's up next. So you don't have to think about anything, just check your emails. So we can go to the next slide. And with that, questions. I think there was a couple questions we had in here that were more specific and towards their own items. So those ones got answered, but checking to see if anyone else here tonight has any other questions for myself or for Rob or for Danielle or our other CEE folks that we have on the line.
Earlier, Danielle talked about rebates for insulation. Can you talk more about that?
I wasn't gonna be able to unmute myself twice before I started talking. Yes, I can definitely talk more about that. So again, we have a few different insulation rebates that are available. From CenterPoint Energy, you can get a rebate for your attic insulation, your wall insulation, and one for your rim joist. And the attic and wall rebates are separate, so you can earn one of each, and they are each up to $500 or 30% of the, let me restate that, it's 30% of the cost of the project up to $500. So if you insulate your attic and walls, you can earn $1,000 in rebates from CenterPoint Energy. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Of course, no problem.
Hey, this is Mike. I actually have a question for Rob. I was impressed by the programs that you're talking about, and not a lot of communities offer that kind of service, that kind of support for those kind of programs. Do you have a sense for how many Minnetonka residents use that program on an annual basis? Any of them?
Yep. So with the CBG program, we are kind of limited in the amount of funding that we get. That's federal money that comes to the city on a yearly basis. And we usually only get about $120,000 to $130,000 a year to fund programs. What that works out to is usually about 8 or 9 projects per year. So 8 or 9 residents usually. Some years more, some years less, depending on any payback or anything like that that we get from those programs. The other program, through CEE, we see about maybe 4 or 5 residents per year. But I will also add in that a lot of the residents, well, first of all, our program actually is, the rates for the program are not as good as some of the CEE programs. I'll just say that flat out, and we've known that, and we're okay with that for now, because it does seem like residents are being served in other ways. So I mean, we're seeing probably another 10 to 15 residents that are able to come and figure out about these programs through us, and then end up getting some alternative financing through CEE or another source of funding. So I would say probably about 20 to 25 residents per year between the two programs are taking advantage of them.
Great, that's a good number. Hey, I'd actually like to ask my partner in crime, Deirdre Coleman, if any questions have come in on the chat.
Yeah, we've got a couple of good questions in the chat. So feel free, whoever can answer these, answer them. But the first one is, have you seen any homes in Minnetonka that are considered passive? And does all electric heat make more sense with that enhanced insulation?
It's a really good question. I will say that I don't work on the new homes program, which tends to include passive homes because they're at least relatively new. I would not be surprised that there's at least, if there is one in Minnetonka. And typically with passive homes, yes, you want to be mindful of that combustion gas that comes along with natural gas appliances. So generally speaking, they do rely on electric heat.
Thanks for that. And then the next question are, what are the odds that a 1964 Minnetonka house would have no insulation in the walls?
Great question. I can take that one too. It is likely under insulated. So a standard wall cavity is about 3.5 inches deep. And there's likely that there's maybe an inch or two of insulation. So there's something, it's probably not completely empty. And if you do have an inch or so of insulation, an insulation contractor can go ahead and essentially fill that cavity with new insulation, making it work really, really well.
Thanks, Danielle. There's one more comment and question, but the question, I guess, is that it's hard to tell which contractors are technically proficient and, you know, or who is just giving you the sales pitch. So how do you, with that?
Yeah, no, I can relate to that frustration and that experience, and that is sometimes true. So I think the biggest resource we have as that relates to insulation contractors is that insulation quote service that I mentioned. So we basically eliminate the sales pitch and we just, you know, provide you a quote at your audit. So that's one option. And as advisors, we can't tell you what contractors to use precisely, but we can help you think about, you know, the 3 bids that you have and help you find the one that makes the most sense for you. And your experience with a contractor is a part of that decision. So that's part number 2. And part number 3 is we talk every day with customers about contractors. So we can certainly tell you, like, hey, we've heard from a lot of customers that this contractor is really, really great. So maybe think about that as an option. So those would be my 3 tools to kind of counteract that pain point.
And one more question in the chat just showed up about the high efficiency water heaters that you mentioned, Danielle. So specific to Minnetonka's water, but maybe beyond that, how are they for folks that don't have a water softener with the minerals?
That is a great question. I don't know much about water softeners, unfortunately. Our advisors might, so I can't hazard a guess at that one myself.
Well, Danielle, thanks for those answers. Before we hand it off to Drew for some final comments, I do think it's important, and one of the things that surprised me and made me feel really good about the Energy Advisor service that you all offer is that, unlike the rest of the people in the system of contractors and installers and all this stuff, the Energy Advisors don't get any commission or any compensation from anybody except for CEE. And so they are truly an unbiased source of really good quality information. And they don't like to brag about that, but I will do that on their behalf. So again, thank you, Danielle, and thanks for all the hard work. Rob, thank you. And let me hand it off to Drew for a few last comments.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike. So hopefully everyone learned something here tonight. I know I learned even a couple of things here that I didn't know. But yeah, it's thank you again for coming. And then again, if you have any interest in going and having a home energy squad person come visit, they are doing them virtual right now to start, at least. So your first visit will even be a virtual one. And then I believe they do a lot of different things to make sure they're safe during COVID-19 with distancing and wearing protective equipment and everything. So a lot of those things are covered. But if you do have any other questions, because you're not sure if it's going to fit for your home or if you should be a person signing up for this, you can feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email. I believe I'm the only one of, maybe the only Drew that works at City Hall. So if you just look up Drew there on our city website, you'll probably find me. Also, if you call around City Hall and just ask for Drew Sustainability, they'll probably get to me. So thanks again for coming, and I hope everyone has a great rest of your evening. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, and good night.